say that? Okay. Yes. Much paddleball. Oh yeah. Like tennis friend. Yeah. And one college plays. We only have to wait for once. Well, the first time.
Call the meeting to order.
Okay, we'll start with,
Educational programming, Dr. McInerney and Mr. Keenan.
Start us off. Okay, so at your places you have the data that was requested. I'm going to go over a little bit of the elementary here. What I would point out in the data is that in grade 3, all of our scores in all of the buildings were at or above the state averages. Fourth grade, same thing. Although I'll say all scores were close to, some were within a percentage, and 2 were close enough that I would say were close to the state average or above. Fifth grade, 3 out of the 4 schools in ELA and 3 out of 4 in math were at or above the state averages. Jonestown missed it in math, and East Hanover missed it by more than 3. Those are the two different goals of the same building that wasn't close to the state average. But our focus this year, which is what I want to talk a little bit about, is we are striving for continuous quality improvements, and our focus this year was with ELA and the units realigning, teaching to the standards. We've been able to do that this year with the help of 2 reading consultants. They've already come and presented once for you a little bit about what our plan was. They will have provided by the end of the school year 4 full-day professional development in service days. They have also come an additional 2 days per grade level. So at each grade level, we've had them come and work with just a small group of teachers. We've gotten substitutes, so they work with them. The pilot of our poetry unit was pretty successful. We got a lot of positive feedback, as did the consultants when they visited the building. And resources. We talked a little bit about resources. This year, just with the poetry unit, we've been able to reimburse for entire, as they request. They're pulling from resources either from what we have or from what they can find online, from what the consultants recommend, and when they find something that they need, they can also request. So we probably spent to date just on resources a little over $4,000, and that's just really for poetry in the beginning of the 2nd unit. Another area of focus this year has been, we just started, and I'm not going to take too much time to talk about that because John is going to present on that next week. The kindergarten preschool, the partnership, we had a night last Thursday night. I don't know if anybody here was your kids are older. But we had 188 people signed up to come. We had 12, I think it was 12, right? Daycare provider, preschool provider vendors, and I think we ended up out of the 188, I think we were about 165 that showed up. So that was a pretty big success, and he'll tell you a little bit more about that next week. At the elementary, we can focus on academics because we're trying to build that strong foundation, but we also offer a little, you know, we don't have many at the high school as far as extracurriculars, but we do have some to try and add that well-rounded in. So we do have chorus and band, a lot of kids in that. We do offer intermurals after school different times throughout the year. We have art club opportunities, which I know Mr. Lickdale really focuses on adding art murals and things like that to the school, as does Mrs. Russell. She recently did some mosaics and things like that. We have some kids who participated or will be participating in Marathon, and we recently just had some kids participate in the PPC conference, which is a tech conference that's held in Hershey. So they participated in the student showcase. We had 4 students from Lickdale, and Mrs. Walter took some students from the district as well. So, Josh, secondary?
All right, thanks. I'm not going to spend too much time going over what's in front of you. You have some of the highlights. What I want to do is take a couple minutes to talk about what I think is some of the really important data that you need to know about the big picture from the secondary level. First of all, with PSSA in the middle school, we recognize there's an area, specifically math, that we need to work on. We call it the perfect storm with a new curriculum and a new PSSA test. It led to some really poor results. We're looking at this as baseline data, and Mr. Reese, Mr. Arts, myself, Mr. Wanger, we talk about ways we're going to improve the continuum from 6 through 12 in terms of math, and we're looking at some things we expect for improvement. They're also looking at text-dependent analysis with ELA and a lot of professional development for areas to continue to improve that area for PSSAs. This takes me to the high school level, the stuff that I know the most about to talk to you. And I want to focus on some of the things that I'm really proud of. You have the Keystone data in front of you. I'll take 30 seconds to review that. To me, that's not what I really want to talk about. But a couple things. I'll talk about from where we started when I got here to where we are now. Our algebra went from 69% proficiency in 2013. We're up to 75%. So we're showing improvement. Same thing with bio. We're at 46% proficiency. Now we're up to 52%. Why? Because the teachers put a lot of time in. We're having monthly data meetings. We look at different ways to analyze the data, figure out how we can improve, not just for the test, but overall. We've spent a lot of time on remediation. I am constantly looking for ways to change things to improve. So since I've been here, this is my 3rd year, we've done remediation 3 different ways. Next year is going to be a 4th different way. Because we've got to find ways to do better overall. Not just to be better for a test, but to be better overall as math, science, and English students. 2 things I want to focus on that are really important to me, and this is right off the school performance profile. When I got here, our graduation rate according to school performance profile was 85.7%. Last year, we graduated 92.86% of our kids, so a little over 7% improvement. To me, that's a huge number. Same thing with attendance. It was 91.71% in 2013. Now it's up to 93.40% in 2015. So we're showing constant improvement in those areas. To me, those are huge things. Those are the things that we got to focus on. It's important because we need our kids in school, and we need them to graduate and move on from here. Things that we focused on, and we're going to continue to focus on in terms of college and in the high school. This is one of the most important pieces of data that I can share with you. In the previous 2 years, our students have earned 727 HACT credits. If they would have took those classes at HACT, they would have spent $174,480. Taking them here, they spent $21,510. That's a savings of $152,970. $152,970. Our students have saved just on college credits alone. That is huge. Along with that, we've the welding program in the evening started at the high school, and I expect big things. That was just underway. I met with the Lori Bowersock, executive director of the PAC multiple times, and we're looking at ways to incorporate that in with our own students. But that's a very important thing. The other thing that is very important to me is, I think I had it in there, we'll call it Recognizing Excellence. We've had 338 graduates the last 2 years. We do the awards program for seniors at the end of the year. Over those last 2 years, the kids earned $497,497 in academic awards. To me, that's the type of data that we want to focus on. We want to say, this is what we're doing. These kids are earning lots of resources, lots of financial aid and benefits to move them on to after high school to be successful. Big picture, we want a well-rounded student. We want a student who is college, career, military ready, not just test ready. We've added 14 new courses at the high school in the last 3 years. AP Bio, entrepreneurship, a bunch of courses in our applied technology program. Different things based on what the students have requested, what the students need to be successful after they get out of high school. We've revamped our master's schedule. I talked about this before, but we've eliminated what's called a split period. Now we have just 9 straight periods in the high school. What that has led to is more choices for students in classes, less study hall time, so it means more instructional time for the kids so they can get more benefit out of it. Our AP courses, so some people say all you have is college and high school. We also have AP classes. When students take the AP tests the last 2 years, they've done well. Now sometimes they choose not to, but when they take them, they're successful, and we're proud of it. Last thing I want to say is our extracurricular focus has been huge. You saw last month our sports programs are doing a phenomenal job, some of them we're very proud of. But I just want to give you a couple numbers in terms of student participation. In the musical, which is March 10th through 12th, coming up, I was supposed to give a plug for that, we have 110 students participating. That's middle school and high school kids. In fall sports, we have 234 students participating. Winter sports, we have 102 students participating. We have 41 students in the band. We have 95 students in the chorus. And we have tons of service clubs that we're proud of as evidence from what Mr. Hess provided for you and Mrs. Albright in previous meetings. So those are the things, data that I'm very proud of. You have the other Keystone and PSSA data in front of you if you have any other questions. But I appreciate your time and thank you. If you guys have any questions for us, we're here.
Hey, wow. Thank you very much. We'll go into the management committee.
Okay, now I'm ready. Stacey has agreed to accept the nomination again, so A is to appoint Stacey Murray as our director for
Any questions on A? Is Stacey Murray accepting the nomination? Any questions on B? Thank you, Stacey. Any questions on C? Any questions on D? Okay. Management did meet earlier at 6 o'clock tonight with the purpose of looking at the agenda and making some recommendations to the board. I will share that with you now. Budget. Sorry. What you have in front of you, dated March 1st, is what we're considering Plan A. And just so everybody understands, the last page references the change from month to month. The budget.
Okay, so not,
That's correct. Yes, yes, I have the paper. Okay. What this includes at this point is it does include the exceptions. It does also include fulfillment of retirements, which would be one elementary school retirement and also family consumer science position. It also includes administration and classified increases, but does not take into account the new contract or any state funding. So we're considering that Plan A as our base. We have 2 other recommendations we formulated as well. We're considering Plan B to be in reference to this form that we had received with what admin had recommended in terms of staff to us. And this was also with Dr. Bell's input as well of what the high priority needs would be for the district. The elementary, middle school, and high school positions in special ed would definitely be a priority considering the change in regulations. The instructional aides, 2 full-time instructional aides or 4 half-time, part-time instructional aides, and then the increase of the secretary from 10 to 12 months. Again, it would be include the posting of the 2 existing retirements, and this would include, because of the numbers, the class size numbers, this would include a 5th grade teacher having to transfer to primary, or that there be some switches there. That is Plan B. The important thing that when we looked at it, we as a committee, and there were other people in the room giving input, we did take out and have no exceptions in our Plan B. So the base plan does have the exceptions, Plan B would not. Then we looked at Plan C, considering that we don't have the state money in the budget, and this would be a minimum of 1 special ed teacher to be recommended and used as needed at the elementary, middle, or high school level, and then the increase of the secretary. So that would really just be the 2 positions. The posting of the retirements, again, the elementary and the family consumer science, the 5th grade teacher being transferred to primary, or that being moved around. This would have no exceptions, and this would be truly dependent on the state money in the budget. So hopefully we would be able to then make considerations, and we would have a budget to be able to then fulfill additional positions. So that is what we are recommending to the board. You'll have that at your places, 3 different next week. Anything else? Any questions? Okay. Dr. Bell, I know you were taking good notes, but do you want this, or you have it?
I'll take anything.
Okay.
You
Mary,
make lovely
I
copies.
was going to say, Mary, can you, because I'm doing really good about keeping my notes, can you run the copies of Plan B? And then, like I said, the Plan A would be considered the base of what you already have. And if there's no questions, that concludes management.
Thank you, Amy. And Director Freeman?
Any questions on item A? I'm really enjoying reading these, I have to say. I really want to take these in place. Some really great stuff going on. Item B. Item C. Item D. And item E.
Can you explain item E?
Dr. Bell?
Item E, the parent request that comes to you is for the student to attend the Northern Lebanon School District for his senior year as a non-resident. Your policy states that there has to be tuition unless the students get 45 days tuition free, or if they're a senior, 90 days tuition free if it's in that time frame. This does not fit any of those time frames, so it comes to you as a board. The request is for the student to attend the Northern Lebanon School District for that senior year tuition free. The tuition for a senior, or for a high school, secondary school student is $10,800.
Do we have a lot of kids that, do we have a lot of transfer kids that do this kind of thing?
No. And I talked to Stacy, she asked me, I said I'd have to go back and look at the requests that have been made in the past, which I think she took as, it's more rare than not.
Yeah. I mean, I had sent Dr. Bell an email and just asked him, how frequently does this happen? Is this something that we normally, how do we normally respond to it? Kind of what is the protocol? And, he said he'd have to go agenda by agenda, but it didn't come to the top of his mind that, this was something that happened frequently or something that we even have a precedent for. So.
I remember one time we did it for a veteran student member. Remember that? That's the only time that I can remember we did that.
Okay.
If you make an exception now, then you're just opening up a can of worms.
That was my question.
A lot of kids are going to want to do this.
Special about, is the kid does he have special needs or a special family maybe, or is it just, he just wants
It's on the letter.
You would just have what you have in the letter.
We've had this request a couple of times that I recall, and you've been on the board longer, so I don't recall that situation, Steve, but we've always voted it down the few times that it has come up.
I think I do remember the veteran. Sorry, it's right. Okay. 'Cause we did allow,
That was a little different.
what, a cyber charter.
Not cyber charter, so.
Yeah, a cyber.
This was a veteran that he was overseas, and his son kind of lived in a neighboring school district, but they ended up, we allowed him to come and finish out since the situation he was in.
It was, okay. But we did allow another situation, but it was a cyber situation. I think that's only for one class. Was it for just one class, or was it for everything? That's it.
Anything else?
I think that's it. Thank you.
Are you're done with them now, Glenn? Yes. I just had something that committee had spoken about last month at their committee meeting. Rachel had brought it up, and we spoke about it a little bit. I think Bonnie and Dr. Bell and Steve had commented. I don't know if Stacy commented, I know Rachel and I had, but it was just kind of talked about briefly, and that was it. And I wanted to just go into it a little more, and I know Dave wasn't there. I'd like to hear what he thinks about it. Amy, whoever didn't respond or might not have been there that night. I'm going to pass this down if you can take a copy. I think Rachel and Stacy already got a copy at the meeting previously. This is just what Rachel had talked about a little bit, and I gave it a name, and it's just an idea. Whether or not you guys want to go with it, that's up for discussion. But what it would be, I called it Northern Lebanon Coaches Council. What it is would be an annual opportunity for coaches to share information about their programs with the school board. Why would they want to do it, or why are we talking about this? Because I feel it would be a good way to build a rapport between school board leaders and coaching leaders in the district that results in hopefully a stronger sense of community and trust. I think I said this last month at the meeting, but it's at Hershey, it can be kind of blow your mind at times when your limited service contract comes up to get voted for, and you get renewed as a head coach, but you get renewed by a 7-2 vote, and the 2 board members that voted to not renew you've never met in your life. And then, for example, 3 weeks after they vote no, they drop their kid off with you for Little Trojan football camp for an 8 hours a day for 5 days, and they actually wave and smile to you, and you're just thinking to yourself, well, why the heck did you vote no? And I'm good enough to babysit your kid all week. And it really, a lot of times there's no rhyme or reason. They might have, maybe a friend in the community said something bad about you, so they said, sure, I'll vote no for them. So I just think this would help us put a face with a name, when so-and-so comes up for vote, like Mr. Gray, we could think, Mr. Gray, oh, that's the gentleman that gave the ACT presentation, or that's the gentleman that when he spoke at Coaches Council has his kids pick up trash every spring for a fundraiser or for a community service project. So that way, when we do vote, it would help us, maybe put a face with a name. I have when fall sports would be, we'd wait 2 months until the season was over, because you don't want to have coaches come in 2 weeks after the final game of the season when emotions are still high. So you kind of let things die out. I had January for being the time for winter coaches. If we decided to do it this year, I think April would be fine. Winter coaches would be March. That's a month after the season's over. This year I'm thinking May. And then spring sports would be in June once at the June meeting, if baseball or softball and track, any of the other sports are still in session, we could always move that to July. But if the coaches, this would be totally voluntary. It wouldn't be a request that we want them to present. If they don't feel comfortable presenting in a committee meeting, but they do want to share information, they could do it over email. If they're not sure what they could talk about, I gave 3 generic things they could discuss. One would be positive things happening throughout your program. You know, maybe in the last 2 years, your participation level has increased 15% each year. So, like Josh had talked about, participation levels are high here. So maybe they talk about that. We do some neat things at Hershey with community service, so they could share that. I mean, this isn't about them talking about wins and losses or anything. It's just some positive things in their program. Second thing would be maybe some of the challenges that they face. If this was me for my volleyball team, we have a 6'10" kid going to Villanova for basketball, and he doesn't play volleyball. I had a 6'9" kid that plays professional volleyball or professional basketball now in Europe. He's the only kid I ever got out in 18 years that was a real tall basketball player, and we've had a ton of them come through Hershey. So that's a challenge for me to try to get kids away from AAU basketball and play volleyball with me for 8 weeks. So that would be an example how they could, you know, answer a challenge question. And then the third thing, a wish list. Every year I ask our AD if we can have another assistant volleyball coach. You know, if I had 3 coaches, I could bring 1 coach up with me. I never get it, but if I did, I think it would help our program. So those would just be, and if they had other things they wanted to discuss, they could. Once again, at the bottom, I'm saying this is voluntary. As a board, we'd like to be able to put a face to a name, and we're excited to hear what you do with your programs. If you prefer emailing your ideas or thoughts, that would be welcomed also. And if you'd rather not respond at all, we respect that decision also. Thank you for everything we do with our students. We look forward to hearing from you. Sincerely, the Northern Lebanon School Board. This might just be a generic letter that would get sent out with them. I mean, maybe I'm the only one that would want to do this, and that's fine, and we don't do it, but I just thought it would be worth talking about tonight.
Floor is open.
You've obviously put a lot of time and thought into this. You know, I think it sounds great to me, but I'm not on the sports scene, so I don't really know all the ins and outs of it, but I think, this helps us to be more informed, and I think it's a way to provide community and connection with our district, so I think it's great.
I think one of the things that really strikes me is what you said, Mr. Keenan, just about, you didn't say this, but you referenced just the extracurriculars and how important that was. And, our sport team, I think when kids are feeling good and they're having success, I would love to see the hallways right now. I'm sure the kids are just stoked, ready to come to school, excited to learn. And so I do think that there's a lot of value into that, and I think another component of that is good coaches. So I like that it's voluntary. I think you've stressed that at the bottom, that this is voluntary. I like that your purpose is to build the rapport, and that your idea is to share as the positive things happen. Certainly the wish list of things is something that we could hear, and I'm sure everybody has a wish list to share. But I do think that it would be good to have the face, the name.
I think it would be helpful, Amy, as you were talking, I was thinking it'd be helpful to even extend this beyond just sports, but also to extend it to our other extracurricular activities that are going on, because I'm sure that if we talk to Mr. Innes or, Mrs. Mosser, that they would probably also have a wish list, and I would love to hear it. So, I think this is a great start, and maybe even extend it beyond that, because, I always enjoy hearing, when I go to performances, I hear from our music folks, and a little bit about music education and how we need to continue to support it. But it would be nice to hear it here on the board as well, and give opportunity for that. So I enjoy the opportunity to really see this expand to those programs.
Are you running programs? Or Shopping and Service Committee?
I sort of agree with Stacy. I think we should invite all extracurriculars, you know. I agree, I think when you have success in extracurriculars, it's successful in your building. Probably Josh is deaf by now because usually the band comes out of the band and strikes up their drums, you know. Every day you have a game, but it's all worth it because kids just love it, and that's just the way it is. So, I think it's a good thing. I like it.
Anyone else?
I think we've done a good job of especially honoring the successes of the schools. I mean, Josh and Dave have done a good job of presenting students like the STEM last year and their invention for the campfire day. And, you know, various people in the band that have gone forward and been honored. So this would be a way to expand that beyond just, you know, people that have been successful seasons to be able to honor all our participants, just not the ones that have received awards. So that'd be good. Thanks for putting the time and thought into this.
Yeah, thank you.
Like
All the conversations over before I, in my opinion, I'm going to stay neutral. What struck me most about this particular program was the thought that when Nate was saying about the positive things not being the wins and losses. Because yes, when we have a great season, like the girls are having right now, and wrestling, I mean, when you have those great seasons, we hear about that. That's a given. What we don't hear about is the impact coaches have on our kids every day, how they change lives, how maybe their attendance, a child that maybe had poor attendance or poor grades, pull up his grades because of the want to participate in a particular sport or activity. So I think this will really celebrate all those other parts of a sports or extracurricular activity that we don't hear about on a daily basis, because it's not what's going to make the papers that we won districts or something like that. But that is really the backbone of what makes our district as great as it is all of these little integrated parts of how our staff integrates with the students to make them better human beings in the long run. So I'm excited to see what comes out of it. Should we put this over in the programs committee to look at the feasibility of putting this together?
Sure.
And Nate, if you could maybe consult with them and put it together. Anything else? Then we'll go to Director Pixler.
Item A. Let's do item A, B, C, if you have comments on that.
I'll start. I've really thought long and hard about this. It feels pretty gut-wrenching to me to have to make a decision about our firefighters that work really hard and volunteer. And so I wanted to be able to make the best decision that I could. I did talk to several other school districts to find out if they have anything like this, to see if there's any other properties that they have in their school districts and kind of how they handle those situations. I also talked to the county assessment office. I spoke to several individuals in the community had contacted me and said, how dare you not exonerate the firefighters? And so I had several conversations with community members as well. So I feel like I've given this a lot of thought and got a lot of information. When what I want to make sure that we understand as we make this decision is that the fire companies and their community centers are already tax exempt. So we're not these requests are not asking us to exonerate the fire company itself and the community centers or the social halls that are connected or a part of the fire company. These are properties that are owned by these fire companies for profit. And so as I was talking to other business managers and talking to individuals at other schools, everyone couldn't believe that we were even considering this. That was the response that I was getting from the other schools, that they couldn't believe that we were even considering this. I think the only question that I have at this point is because, and I guess this is really a question for Jeff or for the solicitor team, is because Lickdale has been exonerated for such a long period of time, is there any reason that we are legally obligated to continue that exoneration? So that's my question, I guess, at the end of the day. But I just, my understanding and the information that I've gained is that these are all properties that are gaining profit. And so my concern would be that if we're going to exonerate for-profit businesses, essentially, where does that end? Where do we, there's many other organizations in addition to the firefighters in our community that are doing wonderful things, and if they come to us and ask for exoneration, where does it end?
Jeff, do you have any comment on that?
Just for purposes of putting this in some context, I mean, the term exoneration is a legal term. And essentially under the statute, it deals with a taxing authority like a school district that lawfully can impose taxes, really excusing its tax collector from collecting the tax. Now, I can tell you, in working with a lot of school districts over a lot of years, that a lot of people use that term exoneration broadly to go beyond of excusing a taxpayer to pay taxes. But technically, an exoneration is really for the benefit of the tax collector. And then in theory, the delinquent taxes would be remitted to the delinquent tax collector. But it's not uncommon, it would be unheard of if you go to a lot of districts that you would have done something like this. If there's a concern about why that's being done or how it's being done or what impact that has, we would be happy if the board wishes to look into that. I mean, we'd actually need to understand the facts and review the facts. We'd be happy to opine on a particular question or if there's a desire collectively the board to want to do something, saying we'd like to try to do X, is the way to do it, we'd be happy to do that. But that's something I can't just, tell you right here, right now what it is that is. We need to know the facts. I don't know what the properties are, I don't know what the taxes are, I don't know how long we've done this. I don't know what the motivation is. But if it was the collective desire of the board for us to take a look at the issue, we'd be happy to do it.
I guess the question that we would need to know is with Lickdale, it's been done, was it 18 years?
87.
87. But it does say this is this is an annual, so every year we are asked to renew these. So to me, I don't know that there is, but maybe there is some kind of if it were just a once and done, and they were always exonerated, we wouldn't have to every year come back to exonerate.
That seems like a very reasonable conclusion, and but again, we want to look at things. If we're going to give you an opinion, we want to know the facts, and so, but yes, as a general rule, if a board was asked to approve, something for a particular year, whether it's appointing a teacher to be a coach for a particular season, or appointing a student representative to a committee for a particular season or to excuse someone from doing something for a particular year, it's only logical and reasonable that that's a decision that applies for a single year, and it doesn't necessarily guarantee the same outcome in subsequent years. But like I said, ideally you'd want to know all the facts and be able to rule out that there's some curveball out there that we're not aware of.
So Stacy, in your question to the solicitor, is this something you feel you need in order to go forward with it?
I feel like for me it is, but I mean,
I'm just asking
Yeah.
you specifically.
yeah. I mean, I would like to know if, because precedence has been set, if that's something that we need to take into consideration in the vote, yeah.
I think we want to do that just because of who we're dealing with. I mean, I think I emailed you whether you got it. I was kind of appalled that it did pass. It's something we've been doing for years. We're doing it for our fire companies. What better people can we do it for as far as those that give so much of their time, sacrifice something I'm not doing, but they're out there doing it. Any way we can help them is what I wanted to see us do. And I felt bad I wasn't here at that meeting because I think it's important. Not just these ones I do for ONO and Mount Zion, I'll do it for anybody just because of what they do for our community. And that's a little bit of what we can do as a thank you to them for what they're doing, not just for our community, but for us, for you and I, if ever we were in that situation we needed it. So I strongly support this. What is it, $11,000? $11,500 a year. One fire company spent over $15,000 being at that accident the other week up in 78. And so this is a drop in a bucket for them, and really it's a drop in the bucket for us to offer this to them. And I would like to see us continue to do this yearly. And I think it's a way of thanking them for doing it for me.
I would like to agree with the fact that firefighters do so much for our community. And it was 12 years ago in January that a firefighter cut me out of my car and put me in a helicopter. I'm sorry, I didn't think I was going to do that. It was 2 years ago that a firefighter broke the window and got my family out of the van that was on its side in an embankment. So firefighters are very important. But I also think that, when I was just on an airplane and the flight attendant gives the usual thing of, if in an emergency, you need to put on your own oxygen mask first before you help a child. And this is the first time being on an airplane with all 4 of my children, and that always has bothered me. Like, no, I'm going to put on my kid first because my kid's more important to me than me. Always putting somebody else first. And then it occurred to me that I can't help my kid if I can't breathe. And so for me to take care of myself first in order to help my kid is the right thing to do so that I can be helpful to those around me. And I do feel like this situation, it's emotional to me, obviously, because I care very much for the firefighters. They have done a lot for my family. They've done a lot for this community. But we don't have a teacher contract yet. We don't even know if we can balance our budget yet. We don't know what the state's going to be giving to us yet. I think we have to be really careful to not put everybody else's oxygen mask on before we put our own on. And I do think it's a very noble cause. It's very, they're wonderful people. I can't imagine us not doing this, other than the fact that we need to take care of what we're here for first, before we can help those around us. And I think kids first, we need to take care of Northern Lebanon District, get this teacher contract. And I know it's $11,000, but it's $11,000. And that adds up, especially if we did it for everybody. And so it's a very tough decision, but I do feel like we need to make sure that we put first things first, and we look at, our budget, and look at our teachers and our children, and what we're doing here first. So, that's what I'm doing.
I just wanted to add briefly that I also called other school districts and I talked to the county assessment office. And the other school districts that I talked to, some were in Lebanon County and some were not. And they are not doing anything similar to this. The other thing that I wanted to add was, and I'm not sure why, I don't know why this was ever approved originally. I was curious, I guess it's not noted in the minutes from 1987 or 1988, but throughout the years I was curious the reason for doing this, and certainly I also appreciate the firemen and what they do, but it's kind of where do you draw the line? So now Jonestown is asking, and they have 2 additional properties that they're requesting. And I know there's churches in the area that also have rental properties, so then would they be looking for the request? And so it just seems like we're already, these properties, the fire company and their social halls are already exempt. These are just additional requests for for-profit properties. And when I spoke to some of the other districts and when I spoke to the county, these entities are certainly welcome to apply for exemption, like they already are exempted for their fire company properties. So for me, I at this point say that maybe they want to look into having their property exempted. I don't know if it would qualify for that or not, but that's certainly something they could do. Thank you.
It could be a trendsetter then for the county. No one else does it, we can show them what they can do to help out their community.
I get that, Steve, but right now, the budget that is being presented has a 4.3742 increase. And so I think that a lot of us are going to really feel the pinch if we approve something like that. And that budget is with no additional positions.
$11,000 and $33 million budget is really...
Well, we have the original property, whatever that amount is, plus the $11,000 for Jonestown. And then you're saying if Ono has a property like this, let's do it. If Greenpoint has a property like this, let's do it.
Mount Zion.
Okay, so I'm just saying that when I'm looking out for our students and I'm looking out for the community, like when do you draw the line, Steve?
Can't worry about that then.
This is my committee, okay, and what Rachel said, I understand where you're coming from, okay? But I think we gotta give the fire guys a lot of credit, because if you look, I also talk to people, all right? And if you look around the county, there's very few people that have what Jonestown has and Lickdale houses. Lickdale has a house, and Jonestown went and bought the storage units, okay? The reason Jonestown did that is because they need a new rescue truck. A new rescue truck costs $700,000. Now, I don't care how many hoagies and chicken barbecue you want to sell, you're not going to get there with that. That accident out of 78, they used that Jaws of Life on 37 cars to get people out, okay? And what we're forcing fire companies to do, this is my opinion, is create a fire tax. And I know my mom, okay, lives on Social Security. Now, she has a good daughter that takes care of her, but there's a lot of people that don't have that. And I don't want to see my older group of people people in this district to have to pay a fire tax when they're asking us, help us out, because what they plan to do is pay off that as quickly as they can, and then use that income they're getting from them storage units to buy a new rescue truck. And I don't know how we can deny that. That, to me, I don't want to tell those 37 people out in 78, guess what? Our rescue truck isn't up to par, so we're not going to get you out right away, okay? I don't want to be the person to do that.
So would you prefer that we raise taxes as a school so that we can exonerate them? So really people are paying more taxes, but to us so that we're helping them. So it's kind of still like a firehouse tax. It's just through us. Do you see what I'm saying? Because I know last year.
I don't think this fire tax, you're going to get more than $11,000.
Right, but I know last year you were pretty upset that we didn't raise taxes higher. Right. And I remember that.
Right,
but,
you're right.
But then what we're doing is basically raising taxes more so that we can help other people. Do you see what I'm saying?
We don't have to raise taxes for $11,000.
No. I understand that, but it adds up. I know it's only 11,000, but see, if we said that about every little thing in our budget, then it all adds up.
How many, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but when you look at the number of students that you have in your barn that are cyber chartered, that's so much more than $10,000, $11,000. If you're really concerned about that, then I would look at my own
I think
backyard.
that's out of line. It's a personal.
It's not really personal, it's something the district is paying.
I do think that we need to keep this on a different level. Like, let's not attack personal.
Not attacking, it's just money that we have to pay out
that-
because of the decisions that we have to make. And so that's where I'm not personally attacking, I'm just saying, hey, we're really concerned about $10,000 here, $10,000 there. It does add up, okay, fine, then we need to start looking at all areas, whether it's an ice cream social, whether it's something that we have going on in our own backyard. I think those issues need to be addressed if we're really concerned about it. And so $11,000 helping a great community cause, is well worth it. And so I think it is fair to discuss it.
One thing my parents instilled in me is there isn't a free lunch. You pretty much have to pay for everything, and there's a catch with it. And I really feel bad about this situation that we're taking advantage of the fire company. I mean, if we had to replace our school buildings, I'm guessing the back of a napkin, it would cost us about $100 million. That's a lot of money. Now, chances are all our buildings aren't going to burn down the same day unless something falls out of the sky and we're really unlucky. But let's say you have to replace one building, that's $20 million. What do we give the fire companies to come to us in the middle of the night when our buildings are burning up in smoke? I think the answer is zero. What happens if at 12:30 in the afternoon something happens, a boiler explodes, one of our building gets on fire? Now we're asking them to evacuate our children and try to save our building, take care of our faculty and administration. For what's the cost? Nothing. So the bare minimum I think we can do is to honor these requests. Everybody's starting to throw in other non-for-profits. Well, I'm a godly man and I believe in prayer and I believe in the power of the Holy Spirit, and so our churches can pray for us, but I don't know if you give them a tax break for that, where the fire company physically comes and spends money in training and equipment. Prayer is free, so you don't really need a tax break to pray more. So I don't know of other examples where we would feel compelled to honor what this community is doing for us, and the equipment and the costs are terrible. And so I'm with Steve. I think we need to, and this Lickdale request has been going on since the late 80s. And I've been on this board, I think, for 6 years now. And we voted yes unanimously without any discussion in the past. And we were really surprised that it's come up. One thing I've learned being on this board is that talk is cheap and action is meaningful. So if we really do care about the firefighters, let's just not talk about it. Let's show something, the little something that the school can do